Let's do that. All right. So Niko, again, we are excited to have you here. If you could introduce yourself, tell us what you do, where you're from, a little bit about how you got there.
Well, first off, I want to say that this sounds like a great program. And I think more programs like this is a great thing for students. It's a great thing for the community because there are a lot of people that are getting into esports. They want to know what it's about. And I think there are some misconceptions about how to get into esports or even just what it's about. And so these programs can help demystify and help provide the resources and just a level of understanding of the industry and the use of tools and really about how to build a community. So this looks like a great program overall. I got my start back as a competitive Halo player. So I started with, on the competitive side, I traveled to all of the events and I would play with my team. And really at the time, it was something that we did for fun. We didn't think this would be a career. It wasn't like we were trying to go pro, but I played a lot. I was pretty good. We found some players and we just teamed together and we went around kind of the collegiate circuit back in the day. And this was before esports was, I guess it's not quite mainstream currently, but even back then, nobody had really thought of this to be a real thing. And so we'd go to LANs, we'd travel, we'd practice together. And then I graduated. I went into the, I graduated as an accounting major, and I actually studied to become a CPA. So I got certified. I was working in the industry, and along the way, I was working during the day, but I found myself helping my alma mater with their gaming club. Yeah, I graduated from Miami University of Ohio. And over time, as esports became more prevalent, I saw even the terminology go from LANs, gaming centers, gaming club to esports. And so I stayed close to it, even though it was relatively early at the time, working in another industry. But I stayed close to it with my alma mater. And then in 2015, a group of us got together and we thought, whenever we want to go to a major esports event, we have to travel. We got to go to the East Coast, the West Coast, but why not have something here in the Midwest? Because I'm based out of Ohio. So a group of us got together, we connected our communities, and we decided, let's put on a fun event for the players just here in the Midwest. And so one thing led to another. We ended up getting the Fifth Third Cincinnati basketball arena, and we held this major LAN this was in October of 2015. So this was before Overwatch had launched, Rocket League had just come out, and we ran League of Legends, we ran Dota 2, we ran Smash, we ran all kinds of games. We had exhibitors come, and to our surprise, we saw that universities came from 16 states to come to Ohio to play, because at the time in 2015, there weren't as many events around. That event got a lot of attention. It was on the front page of Twitch. It made a big splash in the community. And that's when I realized that maybe the things that I learned after graduating college can be applied to events and esports. Is there a way to take what I've learned and connect it to what I love? And so living through that first event in October of 2015 kind of opened my eyes. I saw everyone come together. I saw everyone had a good time. We really went all out on it. We had the casters on the Jumbotron. We had soundproof booths for them. I mean, this was our first major event. It took a lot of time to put it together, but that really opened my eyes to what this can become. So after that event in October of 2015, we then formed a group and started running LAN events at existing convention centers. And so we would travel and run the gaming room at Gen Con or at OhioCon or at Indie PopCon. And it was great because you get to interact with these communities, the gaming community, the anime community, and gaming is something that can overlap a lot of different areas, and it's a great way of bringing people together. So we traveled a lot, we'd run these conventions, and then we did this for a couple of years. And then in 2019, we said, now that we've run all these events, let's put on a major event, pulling everything we've learned all together. And so we went to a 264-acre amusement park. And we said, let's put on a summer vacation experience for the video game community. Because you don't really see that. You see your typical convention center, but this is something different. It's a summer vacation experience. So we had a Fortnite tournament, we had a League of Legends tournament, an Overwatch tournament, a Smash Ultimate tournament. But then in addition to that, if you came into the amusement park, you got your ticket, you also got access to a conference where we brought in speakers across the industry to talk about what is a day in the life like being in this industry. We even had Markiplier come, who's, has like over 20 million YouTube subscribers. We had a meet and greet with him. We had sponsors, we had exhibitors, and that event got over 20,000 people in person to come. And it was really incredible to be able to take everything we've learned, reach out to all of our communities and bring them all to this one place and to share this experience together. And that event will always have a special place in my heart. That was in 2019. We then planned to run it again in 2020. The pandemic hit, and so we pivoted to online events. And in addition to that, besides running events, we also actually picked up a Rocket League team that plays professionally. So I have some experience on that side as well. And so while running online events, that's when I had come in contact with eFuse. It's also headquartered here in Ohio. And eFuse started out as a platform to help people in the community get discovered, whether you want to go pro, whether you want to get further your career in the sports industry. It started out as this platform and really looking to help build out their events. And so I spoke with the folks at eFuse. I helped out with a few of their events. And then after that, they said, why don't you come to our team full time? And so I joined it was late 2020, early 2021. And since then, I've been part of an incredible team heading up the esports events at eFuse. Overall, we started out having about 4 events per month. Now it's about 4 events per week. And we focus a lot on collegiate events. We run a lot of Call of Duty with our CCL team. We run a lot of Rocket League with our CCA team. We're running Fortnite also with our CCA team. But we've really covered many titles. And so kind of a story of how I started as a Halo competitive player, ran a lot of events at conventions, took our learnings, ran our own event, met eFuse, and here I am.
Wow, what a compelling story you have, Niko. What was the name of the summer event? Do you guys have any online material still out there?
Yeah, so it was called Pivip, PIVIP. It was held at Kings Island Amusement Park on May 18th, 2019. And we've got photos, we've got videos, and it's really, it holds a special place in my heart because we just pulled a lot of our resources together to create something really special in the community. And obviously we couldn't do in-person events during the pandemic, but I do think there's a certain magic when you can have everyone in the room and you can see everyone. I think it creates a unique experience. So that event will always have a special place in my heart.
Bam. I'm pulling it up now. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. For the kids.
So we had
Awesome.
multiple buildings. That's the tournament building. That's, you could see outside, we had VR stations. There was another building with the conference, and that's where Markiplier gave his talks, as well as the other speakers. That's in a separate building. But yeah, that was in May of 2019.
That's incredible. I'm interested first to know, because my interest is how we're on the weeds of how to help students understand where, here we go, right? Where their STEM skills can be transferred. So you have an accounting degree. My brother also has a finance degree, and he always talks about the relationship between his finance degree and creating Excel spreadsheets and pivot tables and paying attention to detail, how they align with his passion for video games, and how one improves the other and the other improves one. Is there anything that you have been able to recognize and acknowledge as specifically unique and helpful for you in particular that relates from your accounting training to the esports field?
Yeah. And first off, I think there is a general misconception that if you're going to be in the esports industry, you have to have really, really specialized knowledge. And there is truth to that, but that's not necessarily the whole case. Yeah, I've seen people go into the industry with a variety of different backgrounds. And I think that's one of the great things about esports. It almost doesn't matter as much what your background is, or even your major area of learning and interest, but it's really about how you apply what you've learned. And so for me, I majored in accounting. Eventually I got my CPA, and that knowledge translates to having a base understanding of obviously finances, but even just project management. You can think of an event as a giant project. And if you're running an in-person event, you're looking at what are the different pieces and parts. What does it take to run an event? Now, obviously, Kings Island, that's an example of a really, really big event. But not all events are like that. We've run community, collegiate, and convention events. So these can be at LAN centers, these can be at university campuses. They can be, we even ran an event actually at a kind of modern movie theater. So how do you take what you have, what other resources do you need, and how do you budget that out? How do you break it down into actionable steps and then build a team around it? And so there's really a lot of learning areas that can translate to that. And accounting is one, but I will say when you're looking at production, that does tend to be more of a specialized skill set. And the STEM majors, I think, fit really well with that. So if you're looking at how do you put on like a bracket, as an example, like as a tournament organizer, a bracket is really a visual solution to an optimization problem. If you've got your constraints of your number of people, your constraint of a certain amount of space, your constraint of a number of setups, number of PCs, number of consoles. How do you take those constraints and organize a methodology to get all of the people playing in such a way to where you can declare a winner in the period of time that you have? It's really an optimization problem. And that's the creation of the bracket. It's the logistics behind it. And a lot of your STEM-based majors, you learn how to think like that, kind of in a modular fashion. Within production, that's perhaps the most specialized within esports, because that's when you're using certain tools and you got to put on a show. And so, broadly speaking, I've seen people enter the industry from a variety of backgrounds, but the STEM majors do translate really well to the TO side and the production side.
Epic. That dovetails nicely into my next question. From your experience, can you talk about the importance of the productions and e-productions in particular, the streaming and the video and all of that in its storytelling as you create your events? How do you guys approach that? You're probably over top of that and overseeing that, and you hire a crew, but just speak to the importance of production, how it kind of operates, the processes that you kind of go through in order to get high quality production out to your spectator audience.
Yeah. There are different kinds of productions that you can run. I think one major question is the event in person or is the event online? And that approach can really guide how you go about the overall production. If the event is in person, there's going to be layers of complexity with how you set up all of the equipment. And even, like what is the distance between the production PC to the player cameras? And if you're using like a really long HDMI cables, the feed may not be as good when it goes into the production camera or into the production computer, like little things like that. Now, if you're looking at online events, that you don't necessarily experience those layers of complexity, but regardless of whether it's in person or online, you always want to know what story do you want to tell? And it really depends on the event. So let's say you're running a collegiate event as part of a weekly series. This really could just be about bringing the community on campus together. And that story could just be giving players a chance to play with others on campus. And if that's the case, we plan out what is that run of show? What does it look like? We start with the show open. So who are the casters? What are the talking points? What's the story we want to tell? Is there something really unique about this event? Is there a series? Are there storylines? Is there kind of a favorite player, but then there's this other that's kind of a runner-up? Who's rooting for who? We get all of that information, we put that together, and then we will prep the casters on that. So that's some pre-work. But we start with the show open, and then we get into the gameplay. And at this point, depending on the game, there can be different ways of setting it up. League of Legends has some kind of peculiarities in setting up clients. Rocket League is relatively straightforward with director mode. If you're doing a battle royale, you might need observers to control the cameras. I mean, there's different things you can consider depending on the title, but really the biggest thing is what story are you trying to tell? What experience are you trying to make for your community? And then it's running it in a way to where the production does not get in the way. Sometimes I think the best productions are the ones where you don't really notice them. It's just natural. You're watching this experience and the gameplay is smooth. The casters are smooth. It's usually when you notice production when something is wrong. And it could be tough sometimes. Sometimes people could be maybe a little critical if things are positioned a certain way or how the graphics look. But I find the best productions are the ones where you actually don't notice the productions and you can just focus on the story that's being told.
That is gold. That is gold right there. I'm going to let the students, they have their projects in mind. They're crafting their stories. They're crafting their ideas. They've identified, most of them have identified the location and the tournament that they'll be working with and the facilities. But this piece about the story and how they want to capture it, I think that was something that they needed to hear. So I'm going to open it up and see if any of them have questions that can help improve their ideas on how they're going to operationalize their capstone. Come on up because this is where the mic is. So I'm going to convert this like that so that you can see it. Think of some ideas, guys. This is gold right here, right? You got a professional in the field. I love it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Just out of curiosity, because you were talking about the whole production, like what was your kind of favorite production that you produced so far? Like, I guess, like storytelling wise.
So I have run different kinds of events, and we ran this event last year. This was with eFuse with a content creator who goes by Symphony. He's related to the 100 Thieves, and he's a Call of Duty player. And because he's a content creator, he knows how to get attention. He knows how to get good content. And he was so funny on stream that, I mean, we prepped him. We did our typical thing within production, but the production team, we were all just laughing so much because he was so entertaining on stream that he really brought out the production to a whole other level. I would not do it justice to really describe it. You'd probably have to see it for yourself to see just what he's able to do. But that was a really fun one for us. But I think for that, we had the opportunity to work with somebody like that, a bigger name, and that was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Opportunity to get your questions answered by a professional in this space. Come on up. You got another one coming.
Hey man, how's everything going?
Hey.
So I just kind of want to, and this is just based off my project as well, just kind of idea. When you first start organizing something like this, what is the first production aspect that you focus on in an event?
If it's an in-person event, we do a walkthrough of the venue early on because we need to know where are the power outlets. We need to know the fire code capacity. We need to know what is the distance between where the players will be and where we can set up production. How much space do we have for production? We have to have a floor plan and lay that out so that we know what we can work with. That's the first step for an in-person event. Mm-hmm. For an online event, we talk to whoever we're working with. So it could be a sponsor, it could be the players, and we just ask them, what is success for you? Like, what would you like to see in this event?
I see. Okay.
And then we work to create a show, an experience around what they deem to be a success. And so eventually we take their requirements and then we translate that to a run of show where they could see this is when the production starts. This is when the casters will go live. This is when we'll talk about the format and prizing. This is when the gameplay starts. This is when we'll have your content that you've provided. We show them that plan so they can review it, make sure it looks good. And then we do testing and then we run the event.
I see. So you kind of just lay out a blueprint of the potential of the event, and once you get that approval, then you guys kind of just fired it off.
That's right.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that.
Also say your name. I apologize. Let's say your name. Introduce yourself. Say your name.
Hi, my name's Eric. So, especially for like an in-person event, how do you make sure that if you have multiple tournaments going at the same time, how do you make sure that like the smaller one is still attended to and like people still want to participate?
So it really, for an in-person event, there's going to be layers of complexity. And this is where you have to decide what to show and when. So for our like Kings Island event, we set it up so that there were no tournaments running at once. So we had only one tournament running at a time. And we did that because we wanted to showcase the full experience for each one. And we actually set it up to where we had set up qualifiers in advance. And then the winners of the qualifiers went to the main event at Kings Island. And so that way you kind of see the biggest games on the main stage at Kings Island. So we were able to set it up that way. But let's say you're looking at a LAN where you've got multiple tournaments running at once. In that case, it gets tricky. You got to decide what you're going to show and when. And that could be tough, but typically we try to show what we think the community wants. And easier said than done. But if we know that there's going to be like a big rivalry between two sets of players at a certain time, we will plan it so that we'll go to that game during that rivalry because we know there's a big storyline there. If the finals for League of Legends is happening at 1 o'clock, we got to allocate 2 hours, maybe depending of time towards the finals, which means that that game is locked in for that time slot. And then the other part of it is you can come with a plan, but not everything always goes to plan. So what are your backup scenarios? We try to have the ability to either switch between games. So we'll have observers in every game, and we're only showing one observer for a game, but let's say they end early, or let's say we're waiting on someone and we want to swap to another game. We have an observer that's ready, and we could just do that. That's one thing that we do as a backup. And then the other thing is we try to have as much pre-recorded content as possible so that if we do have to go to a break, we're not stuck on a break scene for too long. We have pre-recorded content that we can show. And then worst case scenario, we'll set up some live interviews with people, and we'll just interview them until an observer is ready or that game is ready. And then we'll go back to there. So you gotta come with a plan, but you also gotta come with some alternatives just in case if things change.
Okay.
Love it. I think that's fantastic information. I have one final question before we wrap up here. It's been really helpful. It's been great to have you here with your expertise and your advice. Tell us the importance of, because you've been talking about the complexity of organizing and telling the story. That kind of drives the sport, because obviously in esports, it's all about the spectators. It's what people want to see. The reason why people even watch and observe is because they want to see the best play against the best. They want storylines. They want to be entertained, right? And so that's what you're feeding. But tell us the importance of KPIs, what they are, how you articulate them, address them, and then execute them in your productions or in your events.
Yeah. If we're running a production at a convention, the convention chairs will look for attendance. And that can be outside the scope of a production. And so in that setting, really the main thing that we're doing from a production standpoint in a convention is just making sure that the players that are there, the viewers, that they're having a good time. And so that means a smooth stream. Everything looks good. There's no, no lag as an example. The stream doesn't go down. We just want to make sure it's a smooth stream. And we want to have activities that people can participate in while they wait for the next game. So really, for in-person events at a convention, typically it's really just engagement of the people that come. For online events, typically the major metric is going to be impressions. And that is because it's likely that a sponsor will be involved. And so, when you run an event, there's usually some kind of pricing. So where is that pricing coming from? It's probably from a sponsor. And the sponsor will look for overall impressions. And the impressions can be viewership. We call that CCV, current viewership. It could be social media impressions. So what is the overall reach of the posts? And it could be coverage of their talking points. So if they have something that they really want to get across, are we making sure that we are covering that aspect as part of the show? And really, I think the fun part of it could be challenging sometimes, but the fun part of it can be, how do you convey that message in an authentic way for the event? Like, I'll give an example. We ran an online Super Smash Brothers Ultimate event. And one of the sponsors was Hot Pockets. This was actually before eFuse.
I'm hungry.
So that event had your typical prize pool that you would see at your event. But Hot Pockets, they wanted to be authentic with the community. They wanted it to be fun and engaging. And so they said, the winner of this Smash Ultimate tournament will get a 1-year supply of Hot Pockets.
No way.
And people freaked out. They were like, this is amazing. This is the coolest thing. They started calling it the Hot Pockets tournament. Somebody made like a music video, like memeing it kind of, but in a funny way. I mean, it was all so organic. And it was just a great example of a sponsor making this opportunity happen, but in a really fun way. And that's what you're able to do within production. You kind of have these tools and resources, and you're able to put it together in a really engaging way. So I think that's a really good example.
Epic. Listen, we're gonna let you go. We really appreciate the time. Want to give you the last word though before we do. That was very, very helpful. And then we'll close out here. But I want to give you the last word, Niko. What type of advice would you like to give these undergrads? And notice also, class, that I did not have to interpret what a KPI was. It is common language in the industry. Common language, jump right into it. Boom, it drives everything. And that's one of the things that we continue to talk about here as they learn what KPIs are, identifying them within their own little niches, and then executing on them. So, Niko, what's the last thing you'd like these guys to know about you, about the industry, about eFuse? Take it away.
I just want to say that you all are being really proactive in pursuing what you want to do. I think programs like this are just incredible for the community. This is what I wish I had when I first started. And so you're really learning the tools, you're getting the perspectives from people in the industry, and you're really being proactive to set yourself up for success. And I think the biggest thing is just volunteer. Try to get involved as much as you can, whether that is with your university's gaming club, whether it's local LAN centers. There are so many online events happening in the community that volunteers are welcome. And so the more you put yourself out there, the more you volunteer, the more experience you'll get, and the more you learn. And that's, I think, really the best approach is to apply what you've learned, learn along the way, and volunteer. And I think you'll see an overall welcoming community.
Fantastic. To meet you. We're hoping to connect soon. If there are any internships that exist there at eFuse, I'm pretty sure these guys would be really interested in having a conversation about if those are opportunities that exist. So we'll stay tuned. We'll stay tuned to the website, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Have a good one. Tell Helena I said what's up. All right. Hey.